So we're doing planes, trains, and automobiles. I have a little dark speculation after watching this movie. So I'm going to talk about it later in the episode. And I want to see if you agree with me. So tune in and tell me what you think if you agree with my dark speculation about Dell.
I'm curious now. All right. I'm going to have to tune in myself.
Welcome to Dad's Talk Film, the show where we take clips from a different movie every episode and talk about how it relates to life, family, relationships, and, you know, whatever other little tangents we decide to go on. We're going to be doing planes, trains, and automobiles. Mm-hmm. But before we get into all that, we, of course, need to talk about Ryan Reynolds. So, Sean Marcus, let us know.
Here is the RRCD, the Ryan Reynolds countdown. As you can see, we are way past 100 days. And Ryan still has not quite contacted us, but we are hopeful that it's the holiday times. You know, we got heartfelt movies. I feel like it's going to reach him and he's going to be like, you know what? I need to come on the show because these guys are doing God's work.
I mean, maybe we'll have a Christmas miracle. I don't know.
Well, let's just do this movie because we got nothing else going on, Ryan.
But yeah, let's get into Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. It's like a Thanksgiving movie. Kinda. I mean, it's Thanksgiving time framed. I guess it would fit within, like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? That's kind of how I felt like when I was watching this one.
It's definitely a holiday movie. It is someone trying to get home for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, it's two businessmen who run into each other and a bunch of mishaps happen on the way, and just no matter what they do, they always seem to be connecting back together.
Yeah.
And having the wildest few days, because I think he comes home late even for...
Yeah. Well, he comes home right in time for dinner, but I mean, he was supposed to be home, let's say... it's Monday. He was supposed to be on Monday night and didn't get home until like Thursday night. So, you know, you've got Steve Martin and John Candy, two classic 80s actors, comedic actors. Yeah, Steve Martin trying to rush to the airport because he's got to catch that flight. And boom, he trips over a big old suitcase, a trunk, and you don't know whose it is, but he misses his cab. And all in the end, when he pops at the airport down in his seat, turns out the guy that he tripped over and the guy that stole his cab is John Candy. And then from there, it kind of, you start to feel a bit of tension between the two because John Candy's a little bit annoying.
Yeah, for real.
He's sitting there in the airplane, like taking his shoes off, taking his socks off. And like, I mean, I've been on a plane where someone's clipping their toenails on the plane. Like, who does that?
I think people don't have I don't know, boundaries, I guess.
Yeah, you feel Steve Martin, aka Neil, you feel his
discomfort and frustration.
Discomfort and frustration,
situation. But John Candy playing Dell is just always trying to be upbeat. He's a talker, so you got the guy next to you in the plane who's just nonstop talking. And that's the thing too, is you got Neil who is missing his flight or about ready to miss his flight, has to race Kevin Bacon to a taxi. So, and then pays a guy like $75 to take his taxi so he can get it. And then it turns out John Candy stole it like while they were in the middle of negotiating and arguing. And then his first class plane ticket gets overbooked on that. So he has to go to coach. So he's just having a bad day just trying to get to the plane. And it was delayed too. His plane was delayed. So
not a very good start. It kind of reminds me of Meet the Parents. It's kind of the same scenario.
For sure.
I feel like they just kind of took that whole scene and put it in Meet the Parents.
I remember watching this movie when I was younger, so I only remembered bits and pieces of it, but now that I watched it again, for some reason I thought it was going to be more slapsticky, which I'm not a huge fan of slapstick comedy or anything. It just tries too hard. But just like National Lampoon's, I feel like it found like the cool balance of between like just being a regular comedy and like fun and like having little bits of slapstick moments
with a message. Because I mean, it's a John Hughes movie, and those are probably some of the best 80s movies besides Goonies that you could ever want or dream of. I mean, he's done everything. So plus in this movie, you've got a bunch of great 80s cameo appearances. I mean, you've got, and I wrote these down so I would remember their names. Michael McKean from Spinal Tap, which is hysterical, which you wouldn't like because it's slapstick. You've got Kevin Bacon, obviously, like you mentioned, from Footloose, and Gary Riley from Summer School, and then Edie McClurg from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which another John Hughes film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there was a lot of actors popping up. You knew way more than I did, but I recognized a lot of people. Yeah, I was like, I think I recognize this guy from here.
I knew Kevin Bacon's name.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was wondering if Kevin Bacon was going to have more of a role in it and keep popping up, but
yeah.
He's just in the beginning, which I thought was pretty funny.
I told Stacy, I'm like, I wonder how much Kevin Bacon got paid for that little 5-minute segment of the movie. I feel like that was him coming out of his job at She's Having a Baby, which is a movie that I really feel like we need to do. But I feel like that was his character coming out of his little ad exec office. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that would be kind of a cool little thing. Yeah. I was wondering, just really quick, the house, Neil's house.
Are you going to say it looked like the Home Alone one?
Exactly.
That's what Stacy said. It looks just like it, but it's not. It's a little. I
didn't recognize the little side house. That's like I was like, that's what threw it off for me, was the little side shed garage thing. Yeah. But I thought
clearly every Chicago house looks exactly the same.
I was like, is John Candy trying to just haunt that house or what? Because he was in Home Alone also.
Is John Candy one of the Wet Bandits?
Yeah, he scoped it out for them, and then that's how they got all their information on whose house had the most.
How many times is Home Alone gonna make an appearance on our episodes?
Right? I think we have like 3 or 4 already that have, I don't know, Home Alone, and we haven't even done Home Alone. Why don't we do Home Alone? We got to do Home Alone at some time.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we don't even need to. It's because it's already going to be in so many episodes.
Yeah, we've discussed it so much.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a great movie.
Have you ever been stuck on a plane or a train or something with someone super annoying?
I don't think
don't
so.
Say that time we shared a cab.
Right? No, I don't think so. I mean, I pretty much stick to myself and, throw some headphones on or something or whatnot.
The worst,
but nothing like John Candy.
Yeah, the worst I had was I was coming back cross country, flying back from the East Coast. So, it's like that extra hour because of the headwind. And I was stuck in the middle seat and between two very robust people.
I hate the middle seat.
So they were like encroaching over my arm. So I was just kind of like pinned like this in the seat and I couldn't even move. So that was probably one of my more uncomfortable flights.
I did have a flight coming back from, I think, Greece. So we're in the plane. I'm in the middle seat, and I told the lady next to me, if there's any opportunity for me to get out of this middle seat, I want out. And so she's like, cool. So I asked the flight attendant, say there's a spot in the aisle. And I was like, can I get that seat if nobody takes it? And she's like, well, we're still waiting on people because customs was taking forever. But it turns out customs turned everybody away. And so I was like, I'm taking that spot. I'm unbuckling, getting out. And the guy behind me that saw me point and talk to the thing, like scoots over into that seat. And then the other 2 people go in. I just looked at the dude and I said, no, get up, get out of that seat. He's like looking at me like, what? And he's like, I wanted to be here too. And I was like, no, you saw me talk about it, get out. And the flight attendant's like looking at me. He's looking at me shocked because I'm confronting him about it. If he was in the middle seat and then shifted over and beat me, perfectly fine. But you're already in an aisle seat. You're just being a dick. I got that seat though. But I think that's the most like annoying thing I've had happen in a plane.
So speaking of middle seats, can we settle something, America and the rest of the world? The armrests belong to the middle seat.
Both of them?
Yeah. You're in the middle seat.
You got the most uncomfortable one.
The window seat has their armrest to lean into. The aisle seat, they've got theirs. If you're in the middle seat, you get both armrests.
I mean, I can agree with that. You're in the worst position. You should be able to at least have that shoulder space.
Yeah.
Because you don't got a leaning room. So I can agree with that.
And if you disagree,
bam, stamped.
Write it in the comments. Leave me your address. I will come to your house and fight you.
Perfect.
Yeah. I did go cross Atlantic. I was flying to England, and from San Francisco to England, I was on the plane that was 2, 5, and 2, and I was right in the middle of the 5. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. Luckily, though, like I said, I've said before, I'm like a camel reverse camel, where I don't have to pee for like an entire day. So I didn't have to get up ever, but man, that's terrible.
Oh man, that made me think about how Neil went to go get his rental car.
Yep.
You know, it's all snowy out, and then he gets dropped off, and of course, one more mishap happens. The one car that is his was not there, and the bus is taken off. So he's walking through all the snow and slipping and all that. Kind of reminded me of, there was a bad snowstorm in Seattle when I lived up there still, and it was just snowing like crazy, and then the ice, it just turned into ice on the freeway. People literally like abandoned their cars on the 5. I was like, that's why things are going so slow. But it was so icy. I don't blame them. But I ended up making it into Seattle and got a hotel. But
I was on I-5 that same storm, and it took me 8 hours to get home. And it would have been like a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, I was in traffic for like 5 hours or more, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I couldn't just turn around either. It was like all the off ramps were just completely frozen. But man,
I told Stacy, I'm like, because she'd never seen this, and I'm there's one scene in this movie, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but as soon as you see it, you're gonna really love it. And you know, he gets to the front desk and he's so frustrated because the car's not there and all this stuff, and he's like, I want an effing car right effing now, because F this. And she just kind of like turns her head, looks at me, and she's like, I don't appreciate the implications of why you said this is my favorite. I'm like, it is your favorite word. It's your mom's favorite word. It's your grandmother's favorite word.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of good scenes. I mean, the first scene where they're having to bunk up and they get that hotel room and they realize there's only the one queen bed and both of them have to share it, and they're both kind of look at each other, and they know what has to, you know, transpire that night, but they don't want to admit it, and they're like talking about everything else. And then later on that night, you know, they end up snuggling and kissing, and you know, they are just like, oh, spooning. Dell's like, Neil, why are you holding my hand? And he's like, where's your other hand? He goes, between two pillows. Those are pillows. I quote that line all the time.
That was a great little scene. I don't know. I don't think it's as awkward like if you have to like bunk up with a buddy or something.
Yeah.
But when you do you have the debate? Do you go nut to butt, butt to nut, or do you go dicks up, like feet to head? Like, do you have a go-to?
I would just do, you know, both heads up. You're both facing out, butt to butt.
Butt to butt. See, I didn't even put that as an option. I just sleep in there like normal. I mean, it's just a little weird if you wake up and you're cuddling and your buddy kisses you on the ear.
Yeah. But you can really though feel his frustration when he's like just trying to take a shower and like everything's going wrong, and he looks out and John Candy's got just everywhere just garbage, and he's got his socks soaking in the sink, and then in the morning he's trying to wash his face and he picks up, he's drying his face, and it's with his John Candy's underwear. Yeah, that would be enough to make me crack too.
Oh, and then he's just making all the noises and
yeah.
He's like, well, I'm not gonna be able to sleep if I don't clear my sinuses.
Yeah.
Oh, and then too, Del wasn't even paying for everything. He just knew everybody, how to get transportations going, or Neil had to pay for everything. He's like, you're just kind of like riding off of me, which was kind of crazy. And then too, just carrying that trunk everywhere they went. Like that thing never got left behind.
But it was a necessity because he had a lot of stuff in there. He travels a lot, and he's a shower curtain ring salesman. So, he's got his whole line in there.
He's a pretty good talker, though, man. He sold those things as earrings and everything. There's something I want to talk about here. So I have a little dark speculation after watching this movie. So I'm watching the movie, and, it seems lighthearted. These two people just keep popping up into each other's life and all that stuff, because they're trying to get to basically they're just trying to travel together and get to their homes for Thanksgiving. I think Del is a murderer or like a killer, hands down. Like he has to have killed his wife. And I'm gonna lay it all out, and you might be able to shut me down here. So let's see. The movie starts off. You have Neil trying to get a taxi cab. Del sees his target because he sees Neil trying to negotiate this cab. So he loads his stuff up in this cab, knowing that Neil is obviously going to chase him, and then lets him open the door, make eye contact. Okay, now they know they're together. Del is a super good salesman. He can talk to anybody and get everybody hooked up. So when they finally get on the plane, Neil's first class ticket doesn't work anymore. Oh, it's overbooked. But guess what? Now he has to sit next to
because he
slipped
Del. The flight attendant some money saying make sure
he slipped him some of those sweet earrings, those hooks. He's like, I'll trade you these. Tell him he can't. There's a seat right next to me. So he gets that all set up, right? So they do the plane thing. He's talking a bunch. They go into the motel room, and they're sharing a motel. I think Del knows that they're getting the same room because he's been to this place and knows it's like a weird sex hotel is basically what it is. And he uses the vibrating bed. He goes and takes it. He asks him, do you want to take a shower? And then they get uncomfortable because he's like, oh no, I didn't, just feeling it out. He's like, oh no, I meant like separately, right? Del goes in, uses all the big towels, and makes Neil use this little tiny one, hoping that he's going to come out naked. And so they're figuring out how to sleep. They sleep. You got Del snuggling Neil and kissing his ear, all creepy. Like he does it creepy in there. Neil goes to go get his rental car. The only rental car stolen or taken out was his car. So I think it's just too much of a coincidence that they always line up. It's always Del stealing or manipulating the situation so that they always come back together. The car gets caught on fire because, I don't know, he tried to murder him in there or something, probably tried to burn him alive. Gets Neil to feel so bad for him that he invites him back to his house. And when Neil and his wife embrace, they do a close-up of Del clutching his hat a little bit tighter, and he looks a little bit jealous. I think he's going to murder that whole family.
He murdered the whole family, and that's why there's no sequel, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles 2.
Yeah.
Because
and then
all
I don't
of them
think
are murdered.
And then what's in the trunk? Like, we find out
her
that
body, his wife's body.
Yeah. His wife has been dead for 8 years, they said. And he's just lugging this trunk around. He has no place to go because he's on the run, and he's just lugging this trunk with a dead body in it the whole time. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Del's a murderer.
I feel like this conspiracy theory is not a conspiracy theory. This is fact.
I think so, man. Because the movie just ends right after that. The jealous
Griffith
look
is a serial killer.
I don't know, man. Did you think about that at all?
Verbatim. It's exactly what I thought about when I'm watching this. Del Griffith, serial killer. This is how it is. No, have you ever seen where people take movies and they remake a trailer into like a horror film?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that for this.
We'll have to do that for this because I guess there's enough creepy stuff in there with the little the right audio and stuff.
But then too, I think Del is probably the same character as in Home Alone. Because he travels in weird ways too. He's like in the back of a moving van or something with his polka band and probably took on a new identity. It's a smooth talker and all that. He's going back to the same house.
You know, it's funny because when I'm watching this, I'm like, well, where's the scene where they're sitting inside with the polka band? And I'm like, I couldn't remember that. Yeah, that was from Home Alone, not Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I feel like we should perhaps have a congressional hearing about this and find the truth.
Yeah, that is the truth. Yeah. We don't need fact checks here. Austin spoke it. It's true.
I like the way your mind works, though. It gets twisted. Yeah, but I mean, the movie is basically two people who shouldn't get along, but through all these trials and tribulations, find out that they are actually, you know, really good friends and become closer, and you know, and in the end, it's heartfelt. What was your favorite part of the movie, or funniest?
I mean, part where I had to be a detective the entire movie and piece things together. I think.
I mean, there's a lot of little parts that I think are funny. Like, for instance, the rental car looked just like the family truckster from National Lampoon's Vacation, but like the sedan version, and like the between two pillows part and the F-bombs. And when he's like trying to change his or take off his jacket in the car, because that is the hardest thing to do, to like take your jacket off in the car. Like I always end up like shoulder blades like cramping up, and
one arm snagged.
Yeah, it's not safe. Snagged. Clearly, as you can see, you end up catching your car on fire.
I think I had two funny parts. I think my favorite one is when they are driving on the wrong side of the freeway.
Yeah.
You got the other car yelling at him, "You're going the wrong way." And then Neil wakes up and looks. He's like, "He says we're going the wrong way." And Del goes, "How would he know? He doesn't even know where we're going." And Neil's like, "Oh yeah, that's right." They just forget about that guy. I thought that was funny. Just quick-witted, little humor there. And then also another part that made me laugh in like a sad, funny way. But you know, Neil is missing his daughter's Thanksgiving pageant or play thing, and Del just goes, "Oh yeah, those are precious moments, and they don't come back."
Yeah, you'll never get that back.
like thank you.
Salt in the wounds,
right?
Yeah.
So I think those were my favorite moments amongst many like awesome little comedic moments in the movie.
Yeah. But you know, being a John Hughes film, it's pretty heartfelt there in the end, where you know, Neil realizes the truth with Del and why he's not going home, and you know, brings him home to his house, and you know, Del's standing there watching as he kisses his kids and hugs his wife and all this, and he's holding his hat, and it hits me. Yeah. And then you take it the wrong way.
Yeah. The next movie is called Home Murder and Ball Gags or something. I don't know. But we got to rate this movie then.
Yeah. So I thought about this. How many different forms of transportation would this movie rate for you?
I think I'm going to go with one form of transportation with a 4-star rating, because we're all this crazy technology now. I can just lift my ass anywhere I want to go. I'm throwing you a little twist there.
Yeah, I'm going with 8 forms of transportation.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know, we got planes, trains, automobiles, boat, hot air balloon, hang glider, and I'll think of one more.
Let's just go with zip line.
Zip line. Yeah, we'll reuse the zip line from the grown-ups
episode.
Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
But that's it for this episode. So hit up all the socials. Tell me if you think Dell's a murderer like I do, because I'm riding that out to the end. And hit the Patreon. You know what to do.
Like, subscribe.
We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Start by wiping that f***ing dumbass smile off your rosy f***ing cheeks. Then you can give me a f***ing automobile. That's f***ing Toyota, f***ing Mustang, f***ing Buick, 4 f***ing wheels and a seat.
I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me.
And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of f***ing nowhere, f***ing keys to a f***ing car that isn't f***ing there. And I really didn't care to f***ing walk down a f***ing highway and across a f***ing runway to get back here to have you smile at my f***ing face. I want a f***ing car right f***ing now.
Yeah, I see your rental agreement.
I threw it away.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy, what?
You're